Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I am joined as ever by the man, the myth, the legend. It is Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how the devil are you? As we embark, as we were talking before we press the record button, on perhaps the busiest period ever in Stardom Cast and Marigold Standard history.
Yeah, we're really busy, my friend, and we are just days away, my friend. We are days away from a massive competition. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be very stressful. It's going to be very intense, Rob Goodwin. Perhaps the biggest field of all time of competitors coming from around the area to participate in what is going to be a massive competition just a few days away. Rob Goodwin, it's not the G1. Rob Goodwin, it's not the Dream Star. Rob Goodwin, it's not even the 5-star Grand Prix. This Monday is the beginning of the Plainfield Town Fair annual apple pie baking contest, folks. Let me tell you something. It isn't literally as I pulled in to my driveway, my wife texted me that she's off getting baking supplies to start trying out some certain pies and whatnot. So not only is she competing, Rob, my mother-in-law is competing. My two sister-in-laws are competing. My brother-in-law is competing. Her cousin is competing, and my 11-year-old nephew is entering the fray as well. Now, I did not know this until a few hours ago. There is a separate kids competition and adults. So it is the same 11 Madden called him to gloat and then talked about it on said podcast. So and he is a really good baker. I just as you know, the other day after I went to the gym and worked a full day, I recorded not one, not two, not three, but 4 podcasts. And when I came home before I started recording, he left me a little treat to give me a little bit of energy. It was my favorite peanut butter and chocolate cookie, which was phenomenal. So this kid is well ahead of his time when it comes to baking, but it's gonna be very interesting to see who wins said competition. The judging is on Monday, and then we will find out on Tuesday. Amber's placement in said competition, where it was 2 years ago, she was 3rd place. Last year, she was 5th place. So Rob. So I am very aware that on the way to said festival, we'll be playing some Slayer. We will be getting ready to get pumped up, and that scene, if Amber does not take home the gold, it will look like the end of that Jon Moxley Hangman Adam Page match from All In. I am ready to take people to task, Rob Goodwin. But brother, I'm great as we're recording this. It is Friday. Happy Friday. Happy weekend to all. It's a beautiful day out we're having. It's not raining. It's not too hot. This whole summer in northeastern Pennsylvania, it's either been insanely hot or it's been raining. Very few in between, but it is a gorgeous day, my man. I'm excited to talk about some Marigold with you, brother. I've missed you over the past month or so between your back injury and then scheduling conflict yesterday. We couldn't find a time to record the Stardom cast, but as I mentioned on this week's Stardom cast is we're going to be joined at the hip for the next 3 or 4 weeks with the Dream Star, with the primer of the 5-star, with the Stardom pay-per-view coming up, and these 2 great shows we're going to be talking about from Marigold. It's all systems go. Marigold's crushing it. Obviously, Stardom rock and rolling as well. We were going to be busy folks. So even though myself and Rob didn't get to podcast as much as we'd like this past month, you folks are going to get your fill of us over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Goodness gracious me, yes. We mentioned last year that it was a condensed, and I don't want to use the word stressful because that's not what I mean. Intense, let's call it intense, schedule with the 5-star Grand Prix. Thankfully, the one saving grace of last year was that the Dream Star, I believe, started either the day after or the day of the finals. I can't remember exactly, but it started afterwards anyway. This year, they're pretty much running concurrently with the 5-star starting on the 27th and the Dream Star starting on the 2nd of August. So we will be very, very, very busy, boys. However, the excitement levels, both for the 5-star, but the Dream Star as well. We've had the blocks announced and the schedule as well. And you mentioned it earlier that Marigold are not just firing on all cylinders, but knocking it out of the park. with these shows. You know, they're on the back of 5 sellouts, another 1,000+ attendance for Korakuen Hall, and then that Korakuen Hall show, which was again fantastic, that main event between Takumi and Utami, which we're going to be talking about obviously at the end of today's episode. And then they've announced another Korakuen, man, in the middle of this Dream Star Grand Prix, and goodness gracious me, it's looking like another very, very tasty show. We're going to be running through everything to do with the Dream Star, all of the announcements that came out of the Korakuen from the 16th. We're also going to be talking about Mayu Iwatani's next Superfly title challenge. We're also going to go through the shows from Shin-Kiba on the 12th of July, and then we're going to be talking again about that Korakuen Hall show. Just a little bit of a programming note. If you have noticed, the news is no longer going on to Talk Joshi. That website for now will not be updated. We're going to be using the Patreon to sort of illustrate the news and the episodes. You won't have to sign up or anything to get the news. That will remain free. We're not charging people for the news or anything like that. It's just easier for me just to upload it to one platform instead of duplicating podcasts to both the Patreon and the website and things like that. And with time being ever more pressing, and especially over the next month or so, it's just easier to do that. So the news will still be going up. It'll just be going on Patreon instead of the website. But Matt Turner, where else to start? But of course, the Dream Star Grand Prix. We already knew the 16 competitors for the tournament, with Senkura Akatsuki and Ria Sato taking up the two vacant spots in the tournament on the 28th of June. On the Marigold Korakuen on the 16th, we did get a full breakdown of both the blocks and the schedule for each wrestler. So in terms of the Star League, we're going to start with Mai Sakurai, Miku Aono, Mirai Chikagoto, Kazuna Tanaka, Mita Matsui, Nagisa Nozaki, and Chan Yota will make up that block. And that means that the Dream League has got Utami Hayashishita, Victoria Yuzuki, Koki Amare, Seriyama Oka, Chiaki, Ria Sato, Senkura Akatsuki, and this new wrestler, I don't know if you've heard of her, Matt. I believe her name is Mayu Iwatani.
Did you say that right? I think I check to see if you said that right. We've never said those. Yeah.
Just a brand new wrestler who we've never heard of.
I do know that this wrestler, she did come into fame for her pronunciation of Ryogoka Kakakigan. That's what she's best known for.
Indeed. Gutting to know that none of these take place there, but nevertheless, yeah, all joking aside, that Dream League looks incredible. Obviously, the eye is drawn to two particular matches in that Dream League, and that is Utami versus Mayu. And for me, at least, Mayu versus Victoria Yuzuki 2, Electric Boogaloo. But so many interesting matchups in that. I think Seriyama Oka is going to have a breakout tournament. I think Koki Amare is going to do really well. Again, Utami and Koki Amare on the final night, just like last year. You look at Star League, Mirai and Miku Aono revisiting that fantastic feud from 2024. Mai Sakurai and Miku Aono, they're going to be recreating their match from First Dream. You've got Kazuna Tanaka, who I think she's going to have a couple of surprises up her sleeve. Misa Matsui, I believe, is the dark horse in that block. You've got Chikagoto, who's been showing a level of tenacity and grit and determination in her matches that any match she's in now is such captivating viewing that I can't wait for some of her matches as well. Really exciting tournament. Before I go into who is wrestling who on what day, and by no means am I going through every single day and who is wrestling who on every single day, Matt, what do you think of these block separations?
Block leagues, I guess.
Yeah, what do you think of the breakdown? That's the word I'm looking for. Block breakdown.
Break it down.
Break it down. What do you think of this block breakdown? Because there are some really, really, really good matches on the docket of Marigold here.
You really could have switched this up anyway, really, to be honest, and it would have been excellent. My main thing that I wanted to see, and we do this with the 5-star, we kind of fantasy book. Like, I would love to see this person in this block so we can see it. no disrespect to any of the other wrestlers in Marigold. Marigold's phenomenal company. They got great wrestlers. As far as in ring goes, I don't think too many people are going to argue with me. The two best wrestlers are Utami and Mayu. So the fact that we're getting that match, and they've had very underrated matches that we don't in Stardom we never really talked about. When Utami did defeat Mayu to win the red belt, and then in that semifinals match for the IWGP tournament with Utami and Mayu, and then Mayu defending against Utami for the I think it was like her V2 or V3. So obviously we're drawn to Mayu versus Utami. That's the match that's the match I'm looking forward to the most. Some of the other and then you look in the Star League, you just said it, Mirai and Miko Ano. That's the match I'm looking forward to the most. Mai Sakurai is going to have great matches. Chika Goto, Mirai, Mai Sakurai versus Miko Ano. They had one of the best matches in Marigold's short history at the beginning of this year. Mai Sakurai did capture the United National Championship. But as far as like matches that I think are going to kind of sneak under the radar that we're not talking about just yet, Sarayama Yoka and Senka, because of just theirs. And again, we'll talk about in the Korakuen show, we got a preview of it on Korakuen Hall just a few days ago, because that's my jam. They're just going to be, that's a match where it's just like, here's the finish. I'll see you out there. We'll figure it out in the ring, because that's going to be hard hitting. It's going to be ground grappling, catch wrestling, amateur wrestling, right up my alley. And then as far as the Star League, it's going to be, we may have a kickometer on this one, Rob Goodwin, with Kazuna Tanaka versus Miko Ano. I'm so excited for that one. Misa Matsui versus Mai Sakurai is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to Chika Goto and Chan Yoda. I think they might have an underrated banger as well. I think Rhea Sato versus Utami. We're going to be able to see what Rhea Sato could do in that big position. Rhea Sato versus Mayu Utami, I think is going to be one that may steal the show. I think Chika Goto, or not Chika Goto, Koki Amare versus Chiaki. That might be one that'll be like an 8-9 minute, but like a banger of a match. The way that these blocks broke down, again, just because of how great all 16 of these competitors are, you could have swapped it any other way, but low-key I was like, I really want Mayu and Utami to be in that bracket, because we haven't seen that singles match in a few years, and here it is. Here it is right here. I know Mayu is kind of a lot of people's odds-on favorite to win. This, to me, like once the brackets were announced, I looked at it, and it took me about 30 seconds to figure out how it's going to go. I still we're on Monday. We're doing our 5-star primer. I still don't know which way I'm going with that yet, but this one seems a little bit more obvious, at least to me. But regardless, I think the wrestling is going to be great. I think you're going to see a lot of the mid-card talent be elevated to the main event talent, very much like a Misa Matsui, Kazuna Tanaka, a Sarayama Yoka, Victoria Zuki, Koki Amara. I think this is going to be a big breakout party for a lot of the wrestlers in these two blocks.
Yeah, we saw with Sanka at Korakuen that there is a lot of heated rivalry between both her and Sarayama Oka and her and Victoria Yuzuki. Of course, all of those in Dream League. So we've got those matches to look forward to. Dream League for me is really quite interesting, because I think both of us have sort of hung our hat on Miko Ano progressing from Star League. But again, one match that I'm really looking forward to, and one that I think might surprise a few people, is Kazuna Tanaka versus Mai Sakurai. And it wouldn't surprise me, obviously, you're red belt champion in Dream League and you're white belt champion in Star League. You're going to have them losing matches to set up championship defenses down the road. And it wouldn't surprise me if Kazuna Tanaka is one of those people that rolls up Mai Sakurai with the Redream and then goes on to challenge at a Korakuen Hall or at an Osaka 176 box. I think that could be something we look at. I think Yuzuki beats Utami on that opening night. I really do. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah, Miko Ano, for me, progresses from Star League. Dream League's an interesting one, because I think you look at Utami and Mayu, the two biggest stars in that block. I don't think I think those two cancel each other out. I don't think those two progress from the block, which means actually you look at who's left: Victoria Yuzuki, Koki Amare, Sarayama Oka, Chiaki, Rhea Sato, and Senka. Who goes through out of that block? Now, I don't think Senka will go through, even though I think she will have an outstanding tournament. As you said, can't wait to see her versus Seri. It would not surprise me if our final is Koki Amare versus Miko Ano, with Miko Ano going through. Going on to win the whole thing. It also wouldn't surprise me if it's Victoria Yuzuki versus Miko Ano winning the whole thing. Either way, whatever it is, these block breakdowns, because I know it's that word now, have made for a really, really interesting last day of the tournament. It's worth noting as well, just before I throw back to you, Matt, that unlike the 5-star Grand Prix, the Dream Star, it is one person progresses from each block. Not 3, not 2, one person. Only the block winner will go through to the final. And all of the final block matches and then the final will take place on the same night, the 14th of September, at Korakuen Hall. So again, all of the final block action matches and that grand final will take place on the 14th of September, Matt.
Yeah, very much like how Rossy Ogawa's 5-star Grand Prix always was up
Yeah.
until 2 years ago, where you would always have that big final night was just an overload of professional wrestling in the best way. And then you never knew who was going to go on to the final because the way it was booked, it was like 3 or 4 people from each block were still in play. Or you can go to the 2022 final, which is still one of the greatest nights of professional wrestling ever in the history of wrestling, where I think 15 people were still mathematically eligible to go in, whereas obviously Julian. But I mean, here's one thing to look at. Again, I'm still sticking with Miko Ano wins this whole thing. I think it's going to come down to her and Mirai in the Star League on that final night. But what is the biggest accomplishment Miko Ano has had this year that they're really hanging their hat on, Rob?
Tagging with Megaton.
100%. I knew you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say beating Megaton. But no, in all seriousness, what's the big thing that they put on Miko Ano this year?
The retirement of Nanae.
Not only that, but the only person to pin Nanae, other than Mayu, only person to pin Nanae on her way out. So what if in the Dream League, because we keep saying who's going to be the first person to pin Mayu and Marigold, we're kind of like maybe it's Yuzuki in this tour, maybe it's Koki Amare, maybe it's Utami, and they really put the stamp on Utami is our red belt champion. She's our ace for a reason. But what if Mayu goes to the finals unbeaten? What if she goes unbeaten and then it's Miko Ano that pins Mayu? So then it's like Miko Ano not only pinned Nanae on her way out, but was one of only 2 wrestlers to pin Nanae in that last 5 or 6 months, but then is the first person to not only hand Mayu her loss, but at the same time wins the Dream Star in the same breath. That would be a really great way to shoot Miko Ano up. I do see your point that it could be Koki Amare, because I was looking at the Star League. I'm like, okay, it's going to come down to Mirai and Miko Ano. The Dream League, I pretty much have it down to Mayu and Koki Amare, but at the same time, I have no problem when they do these tournaments, whoever your main champion is, making it really far or even winning. There's a reason why they're the champion of that company. It's not a fluke. I have no problem with said champion winning, the competition, because then you're really, really raising that person in that championship up. But I think it's going to come down to Mayu and Koki Amare on the Dream League, and then Miko versus Mirai in the Star League. And I think it's going to be Miko Ano defeating Mayu in the finals. That is my prediction. I don't know if we're doing a primer for this like we are for the 5-star. Who knows? We'll see we'll see how much sleep or lack of sleep we're going to be getting. But that is my early prediction, is Miko Ano defeating Mayu, an undefeated Mayu Iwatani in the finals.
Just looking then at the schedule, unlike the 5-star Grand Prix, we have, rather than having days solely dedicated to the Dream Star, we have got some shows like that. We've got the 2 opening shows at Osaka that are like that. We've got the show at Korakuen Hall, which, believe me, we're getting into, which is solely based on that. And we've got the finals, which is solely based on that. But we have got matches dotted here and there on certain shows as well. It looks like the Shinjuku Face show as well on the 2nd of September is just Dream Star action. But looking at that day-night split in Osaka then on the 2nd of August, just a couple of choice matches from the afternoon show. Mayu Utami versus Shinkea is on that opening night, and Utami versus Victoria Yuzuki are the 2 big matches that stand out from the Dream League. Meanwhile, from the Star League on the afternoon show, Mai Sakurai versus Chan Yota, and Miko Ano versus Misa Matsui as well. So those 2 stand out for me on the day show. The night show, Miko Ano versus Mirai from the Star League. We've also got the rerun of Mai Sakurai versus Nagisa Nozaki, and we know how good that can be because of, obviously, Nagisa Nozaki's challenge for the pure white belt. In the Dream League, Mayu Utami versus Seri Yamaoka. We've also got Koki Amare versus Senka, Utami versus Ryo Saito, and Yuzuki versus Chiaki. Matt, it's a strong opening 1-2 punch for Osaka.
Not only that, but I mean, I'm just kind of looking, and again, I love doing these. You know, again, if you're watching on YouTube or Patreon, you can see the actual graphics. So it's more of a visual thing. I can't think of a match that I'm kind of like, you know, I'll kind of, you know, pass on it. Like everything looks, there's not one pairing that I'm not interested in.
No.
Like, you know, I mean, really, I mean, Jackie versus Utami is going to be great. Victoria Zuki versus Sarah Yamaoka, that's going to be great. Rhea Saito, I can't wait to see what she's going to do in this tournament. Misa Met, again, I'm looking, there's not one match that I'm just like, yeah, it'll be okay. Every match looks either good to like, that might be the match of the year. Like, again, especially Mayu and Utami and Miko Ano and Mirai. But yeah, man, I'm super pumped for it. Again, that first night, I mean, what a bang to really get this going, this tournament going. Again, I'm really looking forward to this. Obviously, you know, it is tournament season. Rob, before I forget, obviously we do a Marigold podcast, we do a Stardom podcast. Quickly, give me your New Japan winner. Who do you think is going to win the G1 this year?
Yota Tsuji.
I'm with you on that one, buddy. I am with you on that. And when we're both agreeing that Miko Ano probably wins this, do not tell me, because I want to know live on air, do not tell me who you think is going to win the 5-star, because I'm excited for our primer early next week. But yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on the other tournament that we don't talk about.
Yeah. And Rhea Saito is a really interesting one. We're obviously going to talk a lot about Rhea Saito over the course of this podcast. I'm really intrigued to see how she incorporates that quote unquote darkness into her matches as well. And she's going to have a lot of practice in the singles setting, 7 different singles matches over the course of this tournament. Fast forwarding a little bit then to the Korakuen Hall show on the 30th of August. And this is where your big bang matches happen, because of course this is where Utami versus Mayu is happening. Excellent scheduling, Hatman. Victoria Zuki versus Senka is also happening on there. Sari Yamaoka versus Koki is on that. And then over on the Star League side, Mai Sakurai versus Mirai, which it wouldn't surprise me if Mirai gets the victory there and therefore has that shot at Mai's belt. Miko Ano versus Chan Yota as well is also on that card. Before I get your thoughts, Matt, I'm just going to fast forward again to the finals. And we look at the finals to sort of see who is going to be there or thereabouts. You can sort of sometimes see what matches are going to have an impact on the blocks. And in terms of Dream League, your final night, Mayu Iwatani versus Victoria Zuki. Utami Hayashishita versus Koki Amare. Exactly the same as last year. Utami versus Koki, and it would not surprise me if Koki gets the win. Sari Yamaoka versus Rhea Saito, and Senka versus Chiaki. Star League, Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai, Mirai versus Chan Yota, Misa Matsui versus Nagisa Nozaki. I'm intrigued to see how an All Darkness Revolution match goes there. And then Kazuna Tanaka versus Chika Goto. Now, looking at that final night of block action, I personally, and again, I do like your idea of Mayu going the distance unbeaten and then losing in the final to Miku, because again, you know, you're trying to make stars as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Victoria Zuki takes Mayu the distance in that match and that eliminates Mayu. I don't think she loses to Victoria Zuki yet, because that's a long-term story you want to tell, like they were doing with Tam and Starlight Kid. Eventually, I think Victoria Zuki beats Mayu, but I don't think here yet is the time to do it. However, I do think that she will push her all the way, and that's what eliminates her. And then I think Koki beats Utami, and that is what sends Utami out, sends Koki through, which is basically the complete reverse of what happened in last year's tournament. So, again, I could be completely wrong, and it's Rhea Saito that goes through, but that's my sort of prediction there for Dream League.
That's really good, buddy. Now I'm really starting to second my thing. Or it could be the opposite, where it's Koki Amare and Utami go to a draw, and they knock each other out, and then it's basically a playoff with Mayu
and Victoria Zuki.
And maybe they go to a draw, and then they have to put, wait till you're done drinking, Megaton through the final.
Yes, always. If the answer isn't Megaton, I don't want to know the question. That's
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only person I can see my wife losing the apple pie contest. Like, second, who came in first? Was it Bill? Was it this? No, I'm like, who is it? And I'm all fired up like it's Megaton. Like, oh, all right. Well, still
Yeah,
nothing
fair.
wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Silver, honey. Nothing wrong with
Yeah,
Silver.
absolutely. Your arms are
Um,
too short to box with God. We get it. We get it.
Rob, just because there's so many dates in my head, what is the date of the final?
14th of September.
Okay, so that is after the 5-star, so a little bit of
Yeah,
a grid,
gotcha.
about 3 weeks. Okay, afterwards.
Yes, we've got a while. The Dream Star has, mercifully, it does give us more time between shows. Like, there's 7 days between the final and the previous show, so
Rock and roll.
there is gaps, which is going to help us out spectacularly. But yeah, this is going to be a really exciting tournament. I am, as you mentioned, Matt, there's not a single match that I am not looking forward to. And I know that the eye is automatically drawn to that Dream League because of, the 3, Utami, Mayu, the 4, actually, if you count Sariyama, Victoria Yuzuki. Those 4, obviously you put Kokiyamare in there as well. But the Star League, for me, yes, I know Mika Wano is in our heads going to win it. But again, you're absolutely right. There's not a single match there that isn't going to be blow away. I'm really, really excited for this tournament. I can't wait. And we'll see about perhaps doing a primer. I'll definitely put the stats up for the Dream Star like I did for the 5-star last year. And I will be doing again for this year. So that will go on to Patreon again for absolutely free, by the way. We're never charging for news or anything like that. It's easier for me. And we might do a podcast about it. I don't know. It does depend on time. There wasn't any point in doing it last year because it was the first tournament. But yes, looking very, very exciting is the Dream Star Grand Prix, which of course starts the 2nd of August with a day and night show at Edion Arena, Osaka, number 2. So keep that note in your diary. Moving on from the Dream Star, just one more bit of news before we get into our show reviews, and that is that Mayu Iwatani will be making the 2nd defense of her Superfly Championship at Shinjuku Face on July 29th, just a couple of days removed from the start of the Dream Star Grand Prix. In fact, unless I'm very much mistaken, it's the last non-Dream Star show before the tournament starts. They've announced the full card, but obviously the big match that draws everyone's eyes is Mayu Iwatani versus Erina Yamanaka for the Superfly title. We're going to talk a little bit about how this match came about when we review Korakuen, but basically Mayu versus Erina is a prelude to Mayu potentially versus Mia Momono. Now, again, we'll talk about the lead up to this very, very shortly. But what I did love about the build up is that even though everyone was very excited for Mia Momono and then Erina came in, I did realize that Mayu really put Erina over. I've been watching all the matches from afar, and you were the person that I was really intrigued by. And I think that coming from Mayu Iwatani is a huge thing for Erina. So I'm very excited by this match, even though I would bet my bottom dollar that Mayu retains, because they're not teasing us with a Mayu and a Mia Momono match and then not giving it to us. Matt, before I throw to you and ask for your thoughts on that, the rest of the card for Burning Desire 2025 Night 17 on the 29th of July is as follows. As I mentioned, Marigold Superfly Championship match, Mayu Iwatani versus Erina Yamanaka. We've then got a Dream Star Grand Prix preview match with members of the Dream League taking on members of the Star League. Matt, this is an all-star tag. Utami Hayashishita, Kokiyamare, Victoria Yuzuki, and Seri Yamoka versus Mai Sakurai, Miko Aono, Kazuna Tanaka, and Chan Yota. Quite the lineup for that semi-main event. We've then got a tag team match, Mirai and Yuki Yamazaki versus Darkness Revolution, Ria Sato and Nagisa Nozaki. Again, we know that Mirai and Nagisa Nozaki are attempting to beat the ever-loving Jimmy out of each other at the moment, which is nice and fun. Chikagoto versus Minami Yuki. And now Ishikawa will team with the greatness that is Megaton against another Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui and Chiaki. And then we open with a 3-way Hummingbird versus Komomo Minami versus a returning Nagisa Takibana, who returns from injury, which is very exciting.
Oh yeah, again, a really good card, kind of like your last show before we get into this loaded Dream Star, and you're ending it with a championship match from the all timer in Mayu. And you're absolutely right. We're obviously going to go to a Mayu versus Mia Momomo match. You don't tease that in Korakuen Hall on a live show in front of 1,000 people, not unless you're going to go there. And again, Mia Momoto, she just came back from injury, and she's on. I think she's wrestled 10 times in like 5 days. I'm almost positive she's on the Sendai Girls show tomorrow. Which again, more than likely, me and Andy will be covering that for Talk Joshi. We're going to try to get that out to you guys next week, just because he goes on vacation, and then it's the start of all these tournaments. So if we don't get it in next week, we'll never get it in. But anywho, you're absolutely right. Mayu did a great job putting Arena over without even having a match. She just comes off this great match again, live show, streaming on Wrestle Universe, 1,000 people, and with a simple promo. Just says how she's really impressed by her. So she does a great job uplifting a talent that's not full-time in Marigold. We don't get to see Arena in Marigold as much as we'd like because she's fantastic, but I know she owns a whole bunch of different yoga studios and she's a freelancer. So again, Mayu does a great job putting her over in said promo. It's going to be a great match, but I think it's pretty sure. We're pretty sure who's going to win that one. It's going to be Mayu, and then maybe coming off the Dream Star once that's over with, we finally get that big versus Mia Momomo match, which I know everybody is really looking forward to, my friend.
Absolutely. Really, really, really looking forward to it by me. And I think it was a brave move from Marigold to tease us with a Mayu and Mia Momono match, which everyone in Korakuen was very, very excited about, and then have it sort of taken away from us slightly for Arina Yamanaka. But I really like the way that they sort of really put Arena on a pedestal with that Mayu promo and brought everyone around to the idea of, oh, okay, this could be a really entertaining match. Does sort of telegraph the finish, but I don't think there's a Marigold fan who did think that Arena was taking the Superfly title off Mayu in the first place. So there is that. Very exciting card, though, and Marigold have got quite a few shows coming up, and we'll be going through those coming up over the next weekend after we've done our show reviews. The first of which we are going to go into now, and this was Marigold's live show from Shin-Kiba First Ring, night 12 of the Burning Desire Tour, Saturday the 12th of July 2025. As I mentioned, it was in Shin-Kiba First Ring. The announced attendance was 285, which Marigold has reported as a sellout. Is the fifth show in a row, according to reports that have been registered as sellouts. Now, not only is this, as I mentioned, the fifth sold-out show in a row, but it's also a 4.78% increase on their previous attendance at the venue, which was 272 back on the 12th of April. And it's only 4 people shy of their highest ever attendance at Shin-Kiba First Ring, which was 289 people. And that was back on the 23rd of June, 2024, during the Grand Opening Wars Tour. But again, for the sake of 4 people, it's a sellout. So another great number for Marigold. In terms of the results then, singles match, we opened with Hummingbird defeated Megaton with a jackknife pin in 4 minutes and 35 seconds. In a 3-way match, Kazuna Tanaka defeated Komomo Minami and now Ishikawa in 7 minutes and 24 seconds. Kazuna Tanaka pinning Komomo Minami. In a tag team match, Mayu Utami and Koki Amare defeated Chikagoto and Minami Yuki. Mayu pinning the 2024 Rookie of the Year, Minami Yuki, with a buzzsaw kick in 10 minutes and 29 seconds. Your semi-main event was a 6-woman tag team match. Utami Hayashishita, Mirai and Seri Amoka defeating Mai Sakurai, Chan Yota, and Yuka Yamazaki. Seri getting the pin over the rookie Yamazaki with the Aoki clutch in 13 minutes and 5 seconds. And then in your main event, the 6-woman tag team match, the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Misa Matsui defeated the team of Mikuano, Victoria Yuzuki, and Ria Sato, with Misa Matsui pinning Victoria Yuzuki with a La Magistral cradle in 15 minutes and 24 seconds. Though that only tells half the story, which we'll be talking about very, very shortly. Matt, again, another breeze of a show and lots of fun matches to get into. We start with Hummingbird versus Megaton. Megaton, I think it's fair to say, cheated out of another victory. That's the only way people can beat her, apparently, is by cheating. But again, fun opener. Hummingbird finally picking up another singles victory.
Yeah, starting to build some momentum, and maybe we shouldn't say that because now she won't win.
Why have you said that? Why
now
have
she
you said
won't.
that
She
now?
won't win until January. She won't win until January. I was watching the show and I forgot what the match card was, with the exception of the main event, because of what happened and what you thought was going to happen. And we'll get into that, partner, because you predicted that right. But I texted him, like, "Did you watch this Marigold show yet?" And he said, "No." Horacio Gawa gave away the main event for the Sumo Hall show. He goes, "Oh my God, what did he say?" I was like, "No, it's not what he said. He booked the match already happened." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Hummingbird and Megaton." But then we figured it's going to be a best of like 59 between these two. But
has to be.
In all seriousness, like, you look at this as a double-edged sword. It's just like somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. So is Hummingbird going to get another win finally, maybe get her back on that hot streak, or is Happy Megaton going to get her? I believe this would be her first singles win. I don't think she's won, has gotten scored a pinfall since she's been Happy Megaton, which, by the way, I love that flower on her shoulder on this render. It looks fantastic. It was a fun match. Like, Hummingbird, she does her stuff. Obviously, a lot of comedy with Megaton. Megaton now does this thing where she jumps on your back while she's blowing a whistle. I don't know if that's legal because technically it's a foreign object into a ring, but I don't know. We'll have to get the rule book there. But regardless, yeah, really fun stuff. But obviously, Hummingbird eventually outsmarting Megaton and getting the jackknife pin. 3 stars for me, and I'm going to say that hopefully Hummingbird gets some more wins now, my friend. Now, if she doesn't win until 2026, it's because of what I'm saying right here, right now.
Absolutely, the old Hummingbird curse that we seem to have projected onto it on this podcast. Moving on to the 3-way: Kazuna Tanaka, Kimomo Minami, and Nao Ishikawa. And I know I said this before, but it is so good to see Nao Ishikawa wrestling as Nao Ishikawa, having a lot of fun as Nao Ishikawa. She's very over with the crowd. And yeah, she didn't secure the victory here, but I'm super glad that Kazuna Tanaka did. But again, it's so nice when Nao Ishikawa comes out. There's a confidence to her. There's a confidence in her wrestling. And I think when you remove the character work that is Gigaton, allegedly, I personally think that there is a very, very, very good wrestler there that could be a tremendous underdog babyface in a more meaningful match.
Yeah, I agree. And this was great. This was 7.5 minutes of blink and you'll miss it. And I liked how they told a really good story with 3 wrestlers in less than 8 minutes, because they started off with a really fast 3-way start. And then it almost becomes a bunch of different singles matches, which are all really good. Kimomo Minami had great chemistry with Kazuna Tanaka. Kazuna Tanaka had great chemistry with Nao Ishikawa. Nao Ishikawa had great chemistry with Kimomo Minami. They all had, you get that first real fast 3-way start, and then it breaks down to a bunch of different singles matches. To you're like, oh, I want to see a singles match with Kazuna Tanaka and Nao Ishikawa. Oh, I want to see a singles match with Kimomo Minami and Kazuna Tanaka. Oh, I really want to see Kimomo Minami versus Nao Ishikawa. And that's what you want off this match. Second match on the show. Ultimately, the show is going to be remembered for the tag match we're going to talk about next, and then the angle in the main event. But you planted the seeds to some, this is the future Marigold in this match. And partner, I totally agree with you. The Gigaton stuff was fun. It was fun. It was funny, but we're like, there's a better performer underneath that Kiss makeup that may or may not be one Nao Ishikawa. Again, we saw the massive reactions that she was been getting in Korakuen Hall as part of the Passion Sisters. There was times that she was getting bigger pops than 99% of the wrestlers on this roster. She's somebody endearing, somebody that's over, somebody that has a lot of fighting spirit, somebody that is terrific. And she was great here. This was a really fun match, a really great showcase for the young talent that is Marigold. 3.5 stars for me, my friend.
And Kimomo Minami is someone I want to highlight as well, because let us not forget, she is only a year into her career and she was out for 5 months of that with a knee injury. So to come from, she was always solid in the ring, but I don't think she was ever anything special before. Obviously, she went off with this knee injury. And she seems to have come back and just, you talk about development, she has skyrocketed in terms of development. I think the partnership with Mayu has really, really helped. But we're going to talk about her performance in that tag match with Miyu and Hosan. And Kimomo Minami was fantastic. And again, the speed with which she's wrestling, the confidence with which she's wrestling, credit to her, because genuinely there must have been so much hard work behind the scenes to come back from a knee injury, which is always difficult anyway, especially for a wrestler where you do so much using your legs and your knees, and to come back and improve at such a rapid rate. Fair play to her. Fair play to her. Absolutely great stuff. Moving on then, I don't know why this has come first. There we go. Tag team match. Mayu Iwatani and Koki Amare versus Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. And Matt Turner, Chika Goto will not be dissuaded. She wants this singles match with Mayu Iwatani come hell or high water. And by Jove, she is going to get it, even if she has to ask another 35 times.
Yeah, unfortunately, they are on the opposite blocks of the Dream Star, so maybe that is another. Yeah, I tell you what, though, Mayu coming off this Dream Star, we already kind of have 2 matches planted for her. With Momono, Chika Goto, then possibly one wrestler that is no longer champion over in the WWE at Ryogoka Kakakigan. So obviously, Mayu, the Dream Star, is going to be great for her because she's Mayu, but we kind of have some matches ready made to go, just add water and we're ready to go with some matches going into the fall. So it's really good booking and you're giving something for Mayu to do. I'm all for that, but this match starts off with this brutal form exchange with Koki and Chika Goto. So do not forget that. I think they're gonna have a big match, singles match somewhere down the line, and you don't have to do that for a title. Again, they did wrestle at the beginning of this year for Koki's GHC championship, which again, obviously Koki got injured, so we never got the match that we thought we would get. But they're doing a great job slowly building this back up towards it could just be a special attraction match at a Korakuen, or maybe on that show in Sumo Hall coming up in the fall. That match does not need a championship. It's a special attraction match. And we're quickly reminded how great these two are in the ring opposite of each other because they really go at it. The Goto Mayu stuff was terrific as well. But Minami Yuki, she's almost kind of like the forgotten person in this match because, again, of the storytelling we're telling with Koki and Chika Goto and the fact that you have Mayu in the ring and it's Mayu Iwatani. But Minami Yuki does a great job accentuating all of her positives in this match. And they do a good job building her up in this match. And they do a really great job towards the end, making it look like she may steal a fall from Mayu. And that's ultimately what you want to do. You want to build up the person you're eventually beating because then when you beat somebody, you eventually put somebody away. But it was really interesting seeing Mayu, again, still wrestling with the hurt rib. So, you're probably not going to get the moonsault until the Dream Star. Even the German suplexes and the dragon, the 2-step dragon, that still puts a lot of pressure on the rib. But boy, howdy, she walloped one young Minami Yuki with that super kick and that buzzsaw kick. And it's really cool because it's like, I don't remember a time we've seen Mayu win with that combination. A really terrific match. Again, Chika Goto, her exchanges with Mayu were the tops for me. They did a good job building up Minami Yuki in this match. 4 stars for me. This was my favorite match of this show.
Yeah, it was a really good back and forth. And again, I'm really excited for that inevitable Chika Goto and Koki Amare match because, again, that one on the 3rd of January started really well. And obviously no one can help getting injured, and there's never a good time to get injured. But there was a lot of heat, a lot of resentment between the pair that leading to this match, especially from Chika Goto, who had seen Koki Amare ascend into that main event scene at her expense, she felt. And I think that is something we could definitely heat up again. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's it. Again, a grudge match that we see on Sumo Hall. I'd certainly be very much into that. Moving on then to your semi-main event, Utami Mirai and Seriyama Oka versus Mai Sakurai, Chanyota, and the Nanewa Mad Dog that is Yuka Yamazaki. A fun little match, Matt, but again, sandwiched between what was, for us, our favourite match of the card in that tag match, and then obviously the big turn that happened in the main event. This match might get forgotten, and it's a shame because this was actually another really, really good match.
Yeah, I mean, you look who's in it. How can you not have a good match that you have Mirai and Mai Sakurai and Utami Hayashishita? But yeah, you're absolutely right. In this match, 6-person tag that goes 13 minutes, enough time to tell their story, kind of breaks down almost 3 single mini matches with Seriyama Oka and Yuka. You kind of have your 2 rookies, and you have Mai Sakurai and Mirai. Obviously, they have a lot of history together. Again, they were down Del Mundo together. They were the first Twin Star champions. Really great stuff. And then you have the power off of Utami and Chanyota. And I know you said on this podcast a few months ago that a great filler tile defense for Utami would be Chanyota. And they do a great job planting that seed here. And there's actually one cool really spot where Utami picks up Yuki and she has her in the torture rack, and Chanyota has, I believe it was Mirai, in the torture rack. So you're like dueling torture racks. It's like, oh yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then they break back down into their almost like mini singles match. Eventually, though, we kind of have Mirai and Utami and Chanyota and Mai Sakurai kind of almost take each other out. And that leads into the mini singles match. And that lasts, 60, 70 seconds. But eventually it's Sarah Yamaoka just ragdolling poor Yuka Yamazaki. And Yuka looked really good. They built her up enough in this match, but eventually it's just that gut wrench suplex into the Aoki lock for the 3 count. Yeah, really fun stuff. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend. And again, I'm all for an Utami versus Chanyota match.
It's perhaps the one thing that surprised me about the block breakdown was that Chanyota and Utami weren't in the same block. Simply because I thought that's where we were heading, and Chanyota maybe beating Utami in the Dream Star might have been a way to get there. But they might not need that, and they might still go the Chanyota and Utami route, which I'm very much down for. I think that's going to be a really exciting filler defense, definitely. And I don't mean filler in a disrespectful way for Chanyota. It's just that I think that Utami would definitely retain in that match.
Yeah, and it's a good spot for Chanyota to get a shot at the red belt. You know what I mean? So it's a good spot to have. They all can't be in the Mayu spot. They all can't be in the Utami spot. That's still a really good spot for somebody to have, as they get kind of a bite at the apple, and then you're getting more eyes on you because you're in a bigger match. And then people that haven't seen you wrestle that much or never seen you wrestle at all would be like, oh, she had a really good match. And again, Utami, because she does it pretty much better than anybody, she would uplift Chanyota to make it look like at certain points in the match that she would win.
Yeah. Moving on to the main event then, and Darkness Revolution do in fact have a new member. Matt, the match was good, but obviously it's going to be remembered for the fact that Rhea Sato did join the Darkness Revolution here, breaking the chair over the head of Victoria Yuzuki. And I think this was the right decision. I think initially I said that it would make sense for Yuki Yamazaki to go to Darkness Revolution simply because she was, the mad dog. But Rhea Sato would be, the choice, having looked at this match, obviously the Black Diamond. I do like where they are going in terms of a motivation. I'm sick of being outshone by Victoria Yuzuki, by Teru Yamaoka. I think that's a good justification for turning heel and joining Darkness Revolution, doing something different. And I think Mika Wano actually said, okay, I get it, but is this really the way you want to do that? And, there was a lot of miscommunication between Victoria Yuzuki and Rhea Sato. I will be perfectly honest, despite my love of Victoria Yuzuki was 100% the heel in that situation.
Exactly.
I was completely on Team Rhea during that. I was like, it was obvious what she was doing, Victoria. What are you doing? My one complaint, it's not really a complaint, is that the way that Chiaki had framed that something was going to happen during this match, did we then need the miscommunication? Because the miscommunication made it look like it was a spur of the moment decision for Rhea to join Darkness Revolution. And this is only a very small thing. Like, it's not a massive complaint. So I think everything else was executed very well and it all made sense. It's just that one comment from Chiaki saying, yeah, well, you wait till the 12th. And yeah, they might well have gotten into the head of Rhea Sato, and, they knew that it'd only take one bit of miscommunication and she'd snap. But it didn't quite come off that way in this. Otherwise, I think Rhea Sato as a part of the Darkness Revolution is a great shout. I think it gives her a way of finding herself as a wrestler away from the JoJo stuff, which is what she said she wants to do. I want to be known as something else. It's going to set her apart from Victoria Yuzuki and Sarah Yamaoka, which is obviously a huge thing. And we get Victoria Yuzuki versus Rhea Sato during the Dream Star as well. Wouldn't you fancy that?
Yeah, again, you called this, buddy, and this was it. I thought her going was great. They need more firepower in this group again, because you don't have Bozilla. Again, Rhea Sato is somebody that is really climbing up the ladder, and Marigold really made a statement with her winning the gauntlet to qualify for those final 2 spots for the Dream Star. I totally agree with you that Victoria Yuzuki was the heel in this. I think that the execution of this was poor for a couple different reasons. Again, I like the match was fine. 3 3/4 stars was fine. I like Rhea Sato in the Darkness Revolution Army. Again, we're going to talk in a few moments. She fit in like a glove on the very first night in Korakuen Hall, which again, we're going to get into. But here's my 2 big problems with the psychology of this heel turn. Majority of this match is heat on Rhea Sato. They're just beating her up. They're beating the dog. If somebody's beating you up, then why would you join said group? It'd be one thing if they put the heat on either Yuzuki or Miko Ano, and then maybe she like refused to tag, or she tagged it and then she turned around and then turned on one of the partners. That would have made sense. Again, considering the fact that Chiaki, like you just said, partner, just wait to the 12th, wait to the 12th, wait to the 12th. So it's just like, okay, you know, that's fine. You planted that seed, but why have Rhea Sato get the dog beat out of her for majority of this match? She accidentally hits Victoria Yuzuki, and instead of accidentally, it'd be one thing she accidentally hit her and then started laughing. And then Victoria Yuzuki's like, what are you doing? And then she like blindsides her. But then Victoria Yuzuki is coming after her like it was clearly an accident. She's yelling at her. Even Victoria Yuzuki's facial expressions and Rhea Sato's facial expressions, you felt bad for Rhea Sato. You're like, oh, because the sympathy's on Rhea Sato and the heat's on Yuzuki. And then she turns and then she goes to do the chair shot on Miko Ano and she can't get it right. And poor Miko Ano's just standing there waiting for it. And I always say, I don't like those spots when you see something coming and then it's just like, why don't you move out of the way? Like I always say, whenever I'm teaching a class in wrestling, I always say, if you're crossing the road and you see a car coming down the road 50 yards away, you're going to move. Now it's one thing if you bend down to tie your shoe and then you look up and then it hits you because you didn't see it coming. But poor Miko Ano is just waiting for it, and then it comes. Like, what? Get out of the way. Or your Miko Ano, kick her in the face. That's the psychology of it. Again, I like Rhea Sato in this group. She fits in like a glove. The execution was poor, to say the best. And again, Victoria Yuzuki came off as the heel here. There would have been a bunch of different ways to go about it. However, I don't think many people are going to remember this actual turn in the next few months. Again, go over the Stardom side for a moment. Sai Kamatani's heel turn last year was poorly executed. It made no sense whatsoever. And she's doing really well as a heel. Like, it didn't make any sense, but she do it. That's what everybody's going to remember, is how she's going to develop this character. Again, Misa Matsui's been doing a great job on this new heel persona. I know Rhea Sato is going to do a great job as this heel persona. And the genius of the heel turn here, you just mentioned it 2 minutes ago, partner. We have Rhea Sato versus Victoria Yuzuki in the same blocks for the Dream Star. You know it's going to be a great match, but now we have a little bit more seasoning behind it. We're going to have a little bit more meaning behind it, because not only is it going to be for points in the tournament, it's going to be like, well, you turned on me. So now there's going to be a little bit more flavor going into that match. So I really, really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't necessarily mind that Victoria Yuzuki came across as more of the heel than Rhea Sato, simply because you think that the best heels are the heels with good points, or the heels that make good points, or the heels that have justification. And you're right, we supported Rhea Sato because Rhea Sato hadn't done anything wrong. So her heel turn, actually, you're like, okay, yeah, I completely get that. I would do the same. I'd hit Victoria Yuzuki with a chair. I wouldn't. I really like Victoria Yuzuki. But if I was Rhea Sato, I would hit her with a chair as well. So from that standpoint, I don't particularly mind. But yeah, it was a bit clunky, the actual execution of it. And I think Chiaki should, I think it was said to bring more people to the Shin-Kiba show, which is fair enough. I just would have had nothing said, or at least have it more explicit that Darkness Revolution had got into Rhea Sato's head or something like that. But again, you're absolutely right. The actual ends are that Rhea Sato has joined the Darkness Revolution, and it makes sense that she has joined the Darkness Revolution, and it makes sense for the Darkness Revolution to have another member as well, because obviously, how do you fill a hole like Megaton ultimately? And Rhea Sato has got, exactly, she's got huge shoes to fill. Moving on, then, we are going to be talking about Burning Desire Night 13 from Korakuen Hall from the 16th of July 2025. Of course, 1,020 people inside Korakuen Hall, 100 people more than their last Korakuen Hall attendance, their fifth highest Korakuen Hall attendance ever, and another 1,000 plus attendance. All of those numbers tracking in the right direction for Marigold as they continue on this hot streak of attendances. And Matt, this crowd were absolutely molten throughout this. It was a proper old school Korakuen crowd that were into absolutely everything, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. I mean, everything from jump one. It felt big. Literally from as soon as the bell rang and we had our first 8-person tag up until the final bell of that 58-minute match. And sometimes you take a gamble because these crowds aren't conditioned for those long matches. You never know how they're going to react. And again, you look at the wrestling in the NWA in the 70s and 80s, where whether it was the Funks, the Briscoes, Harley Race, Ricky Steamboat, Dusty, those fans were conditioned. You're going to get anywhere between a 50 minute to a 60-minute time match, because that's how the NWA was presented back then. So it's like you knew you were going to go long, which again, we talked about this last week when we previewed this match. We knew regardless of the outcome, we were going to get a long match, at least 40 plus. And sometimes it's tough to keep the crowd. Again, the Joshi crowd, they're not really conditioned to those long matches, but credit to Utami, credit to Takumi Iroha for keeping everybody engaged for 58 minutes, and credit to the rest of the wrestlers on this show, because a lot of these matches were shorter, but a lot of these matches was action. There was no lull. So you didn't have like that match where it's kind of like, it kind of sucked the energy out of the crowd. And Utami and Takumi really had to work at it to get the crowd back. Everybody was great. A lot of these matches were excellent. Some of these matches, maybe because I'm just a glutton, I really like a lot of wrestling. I think every match could have went longer, in my opinion, but I understood why, because we had to give everything focus to this. Again, not everybody's like me that wants 16 matches coming up on my wife's birthday. Not everybody's like me. I get that. A lot of people were complaining All In was 7 or 8 hours. I had no problem with it. But again, they put the focus on Utami and Koki. And again, this was start to finish. And it seems like we say this, seems like every other Korakuen, start to finish, one of, if not the best Korakuen show from Marigold.
Yeah, this was so consistently good. Like every match from, like you said, Jump One was tremendous. And speaking of that attendance, just getting back to that point just for a moment, often there's attendances where the number is announced and you look at it and go, there looks considerably less in there, and that's every promotion. But this one, actually, when they said it was 1,020, I was like, it actually looks a little bit fuller than 1,020. I actually thought they were going to announce, 1,100, 1,200, but even so, a really, really good number for Marigold and a really hot crowd as well. The match results then, the show results are as follows. We open with an 8-woman tag match. Miku Ono, Kazuna Tanaka, Koki Amare, and Arina Yamanaka defeated Hummingbird, Naoya Ishikawa, Chika Goto, and Minami Yuki. Arina pinning Minami Yuki with the NDMA in 10 minutes and 47 seconds. Just going to point this out. That's the second longest match on the card. 8-woman tag match then. The Darkness Revolution, the new look Darkness Revolution. Rhea Sato, Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Misa Matsui defeated the team of Mirai, Chanyota, Megaton, and Yuki Yamazaki. Rhea Sato submitting Megaton. We know Megaton is susceptible to submissions. It's harsh to keep using them on her. Submitting her with the double chicken wing in 9 minutes and 11 seconds. One of my matches of the show then, tag team match, Victoria Yuzuki and Seri Yamaoka defeating Senka Akatsuki and Sora Ayami, with Victoria Yuzuki pinning Sora with the cross-arm suplex in 10 minutes and 34 seconds. Thought that was a fantastic match. We then went on to another tag team match. Miyamoto and Ai Hozan defeated Mayu Iwatani and Komomo Minami. Mio pinning Komomo with the German suplex in 10 minutes and 14 seconds. First of all, 2 championship matches. Then the Marigold United National Championship match. Mai Sakurai, the champion, defending for a 6th time successfully against Riko Kawahata, submitting Riko with the STF in 10 minutes and 25 seconds. And then the match that this show was centered around, the double championship, Marigold World Championship and GHC Women's Championship match. Utami Hayashishita versus Takumi Iroha ended in a double knockout in 56 minutes and 15 seconds. Comfortably the longest match in Marigold history, and also longer than any match in Stardom's history as well. Let's delve into these matches then. We'll start with the 8-woman tag. Arina Yamanaka getting that pinfall over Minami Yuki. And again, this is sort of a trend throughout this show, and actually throughout the last, goodness knows how many Korakuens. Every single wrestler on this roster is giving the most with the time that they've been given. Like, no match apart from the main event reached 11 minutes, not even the United National title match. And yet every single wrestler did everything they could with the time they were given. And that's the same here, because I thought everyone from Naoya Ishikawa to Hummingbird, I thought Hummingbird looked smoother and quicker and more aggressive than I've seen her in in a while, to be perfectly honest. I thought she looked great. I thought Kasuna Tanaka's stuff was really, really good. And again, Arina Yamanaka was given that spotlight with the victory, with what we know is going to happen going forward. But a good opener, Matt, a hot opener, and the crowd, again, thoroughly into Chika Goto, and rightly so.
Rob, do I have my notes wrong? I have here, I'm not even trying to be funny. I have Arena pinning Hummingbird. She hit the Shining Wizard in that reverse DDT. Do I have that wrong?
Was that on Hummingbird? I assumed it was on Manami Yuki. I apologize.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I literally, because I have it circled, and then what I do is in my notes, because I handwrite them, I circle the team that wins. I put a check mark on the person that gets the pinfall and a big X over the person that eats the fall. The reason why I'm saying that is because Hummingbird wins a few days prior, and then the curse continues.
I think you might be right.
But you're right. Again, you have 11 minutes. Look at the main event talent, or the main event, or the wrestlers that are going to be main event talent in the next handful of months. Obviously, Miko Ano, Koki Amare. We know that Kazuna Tanaka. It's not going to be far before she's challenging for a major championship. Chika Goto's right there as well. The main thing for this match was to get Arena the big win here. Make sure she looked as good as she did, which is right. Again, she looked great, especially in that closing sequence there, because then we find out why, because she's challenging Mayu coming up here in just a few weeks. But for me, maybe it's just because I'm a massive Nao Ishikawa fan. Nao Ishikawa was like the MVP of this match. Really great stuff with everybody in the ring, especially her stuff with Miko Ano. And again, she's somebody the crowd is behind. And you're right, as soon as the music hit and we're getting ready to go, the crowd did really, really great stuff. Again, 8-person tag to start off. You're right. This was the second longest match of the show, which is considering the fact of, the bing bang boom in those last 3 matches. But I get it. I'm glad they had time to tell their story. Also, Rob Goodwin, friend of the show, Tom Fain, back on commentary for doing some Joshi. So I actually did talk to him later on that day. He's actually doing commentary for the Sendai Girls show coming up in Korakuen Hall tomorrow. So making the rounds on the WU, my man, on the WU. Really great match to start the show. 3.5 stars for me, partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought all 3 of Stu and Tom and Sonny did very, very well, especially as this is Tom's first time commentating on a Marigold event. I thought he was very well rehearsed. There was a couple of fumbles, which are to be expected, but I thought Sonny especially guided him really, really well through some of the lore and some of the backstory, and that's where Sonny really does excel in his commentary. It was Hummingbird. I just highlighted the wrong person. That's why. As soon as you said, "Is it Hummingbird?" I was like, "Yeah, it was Hummingbird." But there we go. Moving on to the second match on the card, Rhea Sato literally being wheeled out as a member of the Darkness Revolution. Matt, obviously that was a huge talking point, how Rhea would wrestle as a heel. Obviously, we are only 4 days removed from the turn itself, so I didn't really expect anything majorly different. I think it really came into its own when Rhea Sato was in the ring with Megaton, because she absolutely tortured Megaton, which was great. And I think that's where her heel work is going to really come into its own, because she is progressively more and more submission based and submission focused, and I think that's where she can really, again, using that word, torture someone, and that's what she did with Megaton here. I didn't expect her to come out with brand new music, new gear, new moveset, and have a completely new demeanor. I just didn't expect that, but I thought she worked really well as a part of this group. Nagisa Nozaki and Mirai, I'm always going to be a fan of that partnership, and again, they did a lot on the outside, especially with a lot of the ferocity. I love Mirai just fighting everyone off with chops to the chest. I thought that was really good. Chanyota is someone that I actively seek out if she is on a card, because she is fantastic, and she again proved that here. Would love to see a Mirai and Chanyota team. Just putting that out there if we're looking for twin star challenges for Magenta. Overall, though, Matt, a good first outing for Rhea Sato. Obviously, there is going to be, more confident performances as a heel. This was her first match, and I thought she did very, very well, especially in that closing stretch with Megaton, where you could see she was taking a lot of joy in wrenching those arms back in the double chicken wing.
Partner, be careful if you're watching on YouTube. Rob's throwing chops left and right. Those massive arms, they may take out. He's like swinging over here like Godzilla. You know what I mean? Swinging at our King Kong, swinging at the planes. I did get WrestleMania 6 vibes at the beginning of this match because they wheeled out Rhea
Rhea
Sato.
the Giant.
Right? No. King Rhea
Oh,
Sato
King
Savage.
Rhea. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking of WrestleMania 3.
So basically, they have Rhea Sato on this cart, and everybody's like, "Look at Rhea Sato! Look at Rhea Sato! Look at Rhea Sato!" And it reminded me of WrestleMania 6, Savage and Sherry.
Yeah.
Savage stands up to do his pose, and Sherry's just like, "Look at the Macho Man! Look at the Macho Man!" That's what I had instant flashbacks to. Yeah, again, you got 9 minutes, 8 wrestlers. Your main story that you're trying to tell here is Rhea Sato's a heel. This is her first unveiling as a heel, and you're doing it in Korakuen Hall on one of the biggest Korakuen Hall shows that they've done in the year history. So it's a good spotlight for her. Your biggest hitter in this match, no disrespect to the other 7 wrestlers, is Mirai. She's your main eventer. She's your hardest hitter. They do a really good job having Nagisa kind of slow her down, only for Mirai to pick things back up, and eventually takes pretty much every member of Darkness Revolution Army to kind of almost gang up on Mirai to kind of take her out. Yuka was really good here. Chanyota was really solid. Ultimately, it was just about isolating everybody so Rio can put on that double chicken wing to force Megaton to tap out. 3.25 stars for me. Again, what it was really about, just getting Rhea Sato a win and then putting her on the right track as we're on this new heel character that is Rhea Sato.
Yeah, and just speaking of Rhea Sato on that cart, I'm not entirely sure I'd entrust the driving of it to Nagisa Nozaki in future, because she did crash a couple of times. So poor Rhea Sato. But there we are. Not the way you want to treat your newest member, but there we are.
Boom.
Moving on to a match I absolutely loved. Victoria Yuzuki Yamaoka versus Sora and Senka. I knew I was going to really enjoy this because of the countless times that Senka and Seri have squared off, including in the press conference where, again, always ready Senka Akatsuki stripped down. And so did Seri. Seri's like, do you know what? I've also got my gear on underneath. Let's do this. And we started straight away with that amateur scuffle. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be it for me. And then you got Victoria Yuzuki coming in, throwing drop kicks and speed and proper aggressive strikes. And Sora, I think, often gets overshadowed by Senka. And, just because of how much Senka burst into that match that she had a couple of months back in Marigold. But Sora was really good in this, and I really enjoyed that closing sequence that she had with Seri. Again, I put this on Twitter that if this is the future of Joshi, there's a lot to be very, very excited about in these 4 women, because between them we have got some really different but really, really exciting characters. I mean, Seri's less than a year into her career. Senka and Sora are less than a year into their respective careers. Victoria Yuzuki, I believe, is 18 months into her career. There's so much time to develop even more for these, yet they're all so supremely talented, considering that, aside from Victoria Yuzuki, these are all rookies still, which is madness. I don't see Seri Yamaoka as a rookie at all, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just because it's programmed that she's a super rookie, or the way that she's being used by Marigold, or the fact that she's already been a champion in Marigold. I just don't see her as that, and full credit to her. But yeah, exciting times for Joshi. This was absolutely fantastic, and my second favorite match on the card. Really, really enjoyed it, Matt.
Yeah, this was great, and I'm with you. I don't see Seri as a rookie, and Senka as well, because they're both so dangerous. Like, usually when you have a rookie, they're timid and they're getting their butt kicked, and they're learning their way up the ranks, and they're still learning their way up the ranks. But like, they seem very dangerous, and you get that, and when they're going for double legs and they're stuffing the double legs, and then we get some ground wrestling and some like catch and chain wrestling on the ground, and some European style stuff, which I thought was great. And then the 2 marvelous rookies, they start running double teams with the double tackles. What I like with Senka and Sora is they do the little things so well. They get over on doing the little things, and we live in this era that we love, like the Will Ospreays, the Young Bucks, the Swerve Stricklands. We want to see really cool spots, and that's fine and all. Like Senka and Sora, and very much Seri as well. They do the holds. Everything they do makes sense. Everything, it looks dangerous. It looks impactful, and it's all something. Not everybody can look at Will Ospreay and say, "Oh, I can do flips and this or that." But we're not all like that. But a lot of people are like, I can throw a punch, I can throw a shoulder tackle, I can put a headlock on, And that's what these three wrestlers do. And Victoria Yuzuki as well, but I'm going to get into her in a minute. But that's how they get over. It's because they do the little things so well. We don't see many wrestlers ever do shoot pins like Senka. It's very rare that you see somebody hit a move 1-2 kick out and they go right to a cover. They always kick out. With Senka, you feel like after that fourth attempt for the pinfall, she's wearing them down because she's changing the angles and changing the grip of the pinfall, which is crazy. Again, Sari, Sora, and Senka, they all kind of have like similar styles that work really well. Victoria Yuzuki comes in and she's a little bit different because she's more of that junior style, that high speed, that high impact style of offense. So she does a great job really standing out. But even Sari and Victoria Yuzuki have really great chemistry as a tag team. And then you get that almost like mini match towards the end with Sora and Victoria Yuzuki, and these two are just hitting each other almost as hard as humanly possible. 10.5 minutes to tell their story. These last few matches, as great as they were, maybe I'm just being a little greedy, Rob. I wish it would have went 2 or 3 minutes longer because it was so good. I just didn't want it to end. And this was terrific. I have a feeling that we're going to see these four wrestlers running it back, whether it's tag, singles, triple threats, four ways, in the next handful of years. But you're absolutely right, buddy. If this is the future of Joshi, we're in good hands, my friend, which means that we're going to have job security. That is for sure. That is for sure. Again, these four ladies were fantastic. Terrific match. Eventually, though, it is Victoria Yuzuki with the cross-arm German suplex for the pinfall. I thought it was really smart putting Victoria Yuzuki over here because she's the one that going into the finals of the Dream Star, obviously Sora's not in it, but out of the other wrestlers, Sari and Senka, she's the one going in that final night that's going to have probably the best chance of making it towards the final. So I think it made sense on this big show to put Victoria Yuzuki over. Incredible match, 3 3/4 stars for me, buddy. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, if we're going to be selfish, this is the match I wish had more time. Mayu, Komomo Minami, Mio, and Ai-Hozan. Again, the moment that all these matches were done under 10 minutes, or sorry, just over 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, the main event is going long. And I think, I know that on the preview, we both said that we anticipated it going to a draw or, a double knockout at an extended stage. This was great. That opening exchange between Mayu and Mio was, it was a proper dream match moment. And they really did play up to it. Just the acceleration, the aggression, the face-off, brilliant. And then we got Komomo Minami and Ai-Hozan. Ai-Hozan, again, another fantastic wrestler. Really, really good. Completely different stylistically to Senka and Sora and to Mio and Takumi Aroha. Completely different to everything else that I've seen from Marvelous. But again, every time I've seen her, she's impressed me. And I thought her exchanges with Komomo Minami were something I was looking forward to less than Mayu and Mio, but only because Mayu and Mio is a dream match. But I thought they did really, really well with their exchanges as well. And Komomo Minami really impressed me with this. When she had the hot tag, I thought, and she flew around the ring hitting those drop kicks, it was so seamless, so smooth, so quick. And that's what I mean about that confidence that she is wrestling with now. She thoroughly impressed me. I knew she was taking the pinfall, don't get me wrong, but I thought this was a really good introduction to the feud between Mayu and Mio, which again, I thoroughly anticipate will span at least one more match, hopefully more. Maybe we see Mio and Yuka versus Mayu and Victoria Yuzuki, for example, in a tag match. Who wouldn't love to see Momo Bob Banana versus Mayu and Victoria Yuzuki? Who wouldn't want to see that? But overall, I thought this was a really good match. Selfishly wanted it to go a bit longer, but again, you can't have everything, and you only have a certain amount of time, Matt, on this card.
Rob, I just realized, not only would that be a great match, Mayu and insert anybody, but obviously Victoria Yuzuki versus Bob Momo Banana, but you'd have the tail and the banana. So you would throw that in as well. You didn't even realize what you booked, buddy. Look at that. That's why we compliment each other, buddy. That's why we compliment. You put it out there in the universe, and I was like, do you realize that you just dropped $1 million bill, Rob Goodwin? Like there it is. There it is. I've been on the Ai-Hozan train ever since that first gauntlet match back at Korakuen a few months ago. She really stood out for me in that match. It's like, oh, okay, it's another Joshi I really need to pay attention to because, again, very much like a Senka Asura, she does a lot of the little things right. Fundamentals, folks. Fundamentals. Headlock before head scissors because you need to get the people to believe that said person can kick the other person's ass. And that's what Hozan, again, very much like a Sanka and a Sora, they make you believe. It's the believability in pro wrestling that really, really gets me involved into matches. One of the many great things about Mayu leaving Stardom to go to Marigold is that now she has fresh matches. I think we even said that as it was kind of ramping up. We knew where it was going to go. It's like, you have fresh matches. Do we want to see that Utami match again? Sure. Do we want to see a match with her and Mariah again? Sure, absolutely. But now it's like a Miko Ano. We can get a Chika Goto match, what they've been teasing. But like now all of a sudden we're getting cross promotions already with Mayu 3 months into her marvelous stint against Mio. And this was other than the how long and how great the main event was, which we're getting into, this was the big buzz coming off this show. It's like, ooh, we got a little bit of it, and it was great. And again, Hozan, she was terrific. Kamomo Manami, absolutely. Kamomo Manami is taking advantage of every second she's getting in the ring, and I really think come the fall after the Dream Star, she's going to be a project that Marigold is going to look towards to start building her up and start pushing her up the top of the card, and that'd be a great way for her to end this year and begin next year. So again, yeah, she was great. Hozan was great. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me that the main crux of this match, the main meat of this match, was Mayu and Mio. That was what everybody wanted to see. They delivered again, as we say very much like every week with Miko Ano and Utami. They planted a little bit of seeds that we just want more. We know we're going to get that singles match. I wouldn't mind if they give us a tag match and then a 6-person match to kind of keep building. And then we finally get that singles match. You're absolutely right, Rob. This was great. Again, another match I would love to see go 2 or 3 minutes. 4 stars for me. My second favorite. It's my third favorite match of the show because I really like the next match. But the buzz coming off this is literally a dream match that we're going to be getting somewhere down the line. I think they have to do it in Korakuen because I don't think you tease it here in Korakuen. Like, hey, Korakuen, guess what we're going to give you? Not just yet. We're going to give you a match with Arena. And then like, hey, guess what, Japan? We're going to get it, but it's going to be at somewhere else. I think you have to do it in Korakuen. 1, because you planted the seeds here. 2, that's a big stage for Marvelous and Marigold. And 3, Korakuen is just really loud and rowdy in the best way possible.
I'm sure there is another Korakuen in between the final of the Dream Star and the Sumo Hall show. So I imagine that will probably be where they run it. And if the EO match is going to happen, obviously it seems more likely now that she's dropped the title. Spoiler that anyone hasn't seen Evolution. I imagine that might be where we get the challenge, similar to the Utami match for Summer Destiny. Moving on to the semi-main event, then a sprint of an untitled match between Mai Sakurai and Riko Kawahata. Now, I am a huge Riko Kawahata fan, massive Riko fan, and I became more of a fan for 2 reasons. 1, that entrance jacket. That was incredible. I want one of those. And secondly, she came out to Linkin Park. I gave you everything I have. So, I don't necessarily want Mai Sakurai to drop the title, but in that moment, I was very much on the Riko train. But again, these two had just under 10.5 minutes. And I thought that they had to go in all guns blazing with that little time. And I thought actually they did a tremendous job in that time. Riko Kawahata playing that sort of unpredictable, crazy character, which Magenta seemed to be perfecting each time they get into the ring. Was a little bit of a dangerous spot where Maria handed her a razor. I was like, whoa. Like, what sort of match is this? And then I remembered that Mai had put her eyebrows on the line on social media, and we weren't just going to go full Abdullah the Butcher during this match, which is what I thought at one point. But yeah, I thought this was really, really good. Again, this felt very much like we were talking about Chanyota and Utami and the possibility of that match. This felt very much like a filler defense for Mai, but it was still a good match. One that we knew Mai Sakurai was winning, but ultimately a very entertaining match. Riko Kawahata leaves the match not only without the title, but without some of her hair as well, because she did cut off a huge hunk of her hair and gave it to Mai Sakurai as a show of how much this loss had affected her, but then did laugh and say, don't worry, I've got loads on the other side, because of course. But yes, Matt, a good title defense for Mai as she goes to 6 successful title defenses of the Untitled.
You know, it's really funny. She cuts off the hair and she literally like almost stamps it onto a sweaty Mai Sakurai. They wrestled 10 and a half minutes of nonstop. You're right. There was like,
Mhm.
hey, you know, it was like you probably have 10 to 11 minutes. Go and tell your story. It's just like, you know, we're semi-main event, the championship match. We have to go all guns blazing because it's a different match. It's a different psychology because it's a
Yep.
championship match. And again, we know why these last three matches were shorter than we would like them to be because they gave time to the main event, rightfully so. So I think it's just funny. She cuts the hair off and like puts it on Sakurai, and Sakurai is all sweaty. It almost like sticks there. It's like if you're getting out of the pool and like your cat or your dog jumped on you, and next thing you know, you have it's like I got all pet hair on me. So I thought that was pretty funny. We've noticed like this new version of Mai Sakurai we've been seeing over the last year or so. She does best when she has longer matches. The Julia match, the Miko Ano match at the beginning of the year, the 2 ones to go to. She's really good when you give her time to tell her story. This, again, a little over 10 minutes to tell their story, but they told a great story. And majority of the story is you have your outsider, Enrico Kawahata, that is a champion in Marigold and now trying to take another belt. And Rico beats up Mai Sakurai for most of this match. We see Sakurai really on the back foot in this match, even the point where Rico puts the STF onto Sakurai. So I really like that. Sakurai gets some great fighting spirit. We do see some top rope bumps, like we do see a superplex. I like that. I liked how once Sakurai starts building up her offense, she goes for the glorious driver, but can't get it right away. So it's like, it's like, okay, they're clearly building up that move for something big towards the end. Again, she gets out of the glorious driver. She slips behind. She's a German suplex, 2 big super kicks. She goes to the top rope for that big moonsault. By she, I mean Rico. Goes to the top rope for that big moonsault. Sakurai gets the knees up, and then she hits the glorious driver. So again, we kind of built this match around Sakurai selling Rico's really fast, high intense, high impactful offense. But it's just Sakurai just has that little window to go for the glorious driver. Rico's like, not yet. But then eventually Sakurai gets the knees up on the moonsault. Now the door is open for the glorious driver, but instead of going for the pinfall, she goes right into the STF. So I like how she hits the big moves back to back. She uses the glorious driver to set up for the STF, for the tap out. Really liked the story here. I really liked how they make Rico look like a killer, and that there was a few times in this match that she could have put Sakurai away, but they just showed how important that United National Championship is to Mai Sakurai. They're going to have to do a lot more than that to take the belt away from her. And again, I really like the finish, the missed moonsault into the glorious driver into the STF. 4.25 stars for me, my friend. I thought they did a really good job telling a lot of different stories and took you on a really good journey in less than 11 minutes.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that Kawahata did earn this opportunity by pinning Mai Sakurai at the previous Korakuen by hitting her with the moonsault. So there was a little bit of a story there as well. Really good match. Again, one we all thought Mai Sakurai would win, but a really, really good match nonetheless. Moving on then to the main event, Utami Hayashishita versus Takumi Iroha. Now, obviously, once this was announced that it was a 60-minute time limit, I think all of us thought, right, okay, well, this is going to go relatively long. For all the reasons we outlined during the preview. Utami isn't dropping the belt here. We didn't feel like it was time. Takumi Iroha is only 42 days into a reign as GHC Women's Champion. It didn't make sense for her to drop the belt. She's also the ace of Marvelous. And the way that this match started, you knew it was going long because it was structured like a match that was going long. And what was really interesting was post-match, you had a lot of people on either side of the fence. Some that have said that it's match of the year. Fantastic match. Some that said, good God, that felt every minute of the 56 minutes. Some that have said there's no need for matches to go that long. Some that have said they wouldn't have cared if it went longer. They enjoyed it that much. And it's always fun to see how longer matches divide the wrestling fan base. And the reason I say that is because 60 minutes is so much time to fill and keep an audience captivated, because you can't just do the same thing for 60 minutes because, again, you will bore or tire out an audience. It's all about peaks and troughs, differences, overcoming certain things. And I thought Utami and Takumi Iroha did a phenomenal job of that in this match. This match went 56 minutes, and I am not easy to have my attention kept. Like, those people that know me well know I am very easily distractible. There's a reason I support Newcastle United and their team name is the Magpies, because I am like a magpie with stuff that is shiny. I'm just like,
try getting a text back from him, folks, especially when it says read at such time. So yes, I will concur.
yes, because I think I'll put my phone down again. I'll reply to that in a minute, and then before I know it's 3 hours later. But yeah, this kept my attention. And that was the first thing that I was like, right, okay, this match is a very, very good match. And the story of Utami, who attempted to go blow for blow with Takumi Iroha in the opening exchanges and got absolutely plastered by Takumi Iroha in the first probably 10 minutes, 12 minutes of this match. It was all Takumi Iroha. Takumi Iroha blew Utami away. And it was only when Utami changed her strategy and actually became more proactive as opposed to reactive and started targeting Takumi Iroha's knees that she managed to get a foothold in the match, and it became a more even contest. And that story of overcoming the adversity, overcoming the power, overcoming the star power of Takumi Iroha was a really good way to draw in that audience. Now, again, I am on board with people that say 60 minutes is too long for a wrestling match, because ordinarily I am exactly the same. Unless it's an extraordinary match, 60 minutes is too long, and it takes me about 4.5 days to get through it. This match I thought was brilliant. I thought it was structured well. I thought it was paced well. I didn't think there was a great deal of dead air, which I thought was fantastic in a match that went 56 minutes. I thought both women sold phenomenally. I thought Takumi Iroha's selling of the knee was fantastic throughout this and was consistent, which I'm hoping Matt is going to agree with and isn't going to completely crap on, which it looks like he might be about to. I thought overall the match made sense. Both women had taken such a beating that by the end of the 50s, and neither could get up. It felt earned. It didn't feel like a get out of jail free card. It felt like, do you know what? It doesn't surprise me that these two women are unable to stand. And the way that they both had to be carried out, there was no post-Korakuen address. There was no, I am still the champion, and then another challenger coming out. Both women were that exhausted that they had to be carried out by tearful seconds, by the way. Mayu Iwatani in tears during this match, it's worth pointing out. I thought we witnessed a very special match here. I thought this match was very well structured, very well paced, and showcased the best of both women. I know that there are some people that have said, oh, Utami isn't wrestling like she did in Stardom, which, you know, where were you for the Io match? Where were you for the Mirai match? Where were you for the Sari match and the Bozilla match and, you know, all of that? But this one, for any of those latent doubters of Utami as a top draw, good God, this match was great.
Yeah, I loved how there was no post-match thing because the tanks were empty. The tanks
sold how exhausted they were. That.
That's it. We're done. I'm not going to cut a promo after this. And I knew because I didn't watch this live, and I know you did. Me and you were texting back and forth. You were watching it live, and I was just starting my day at work. And I'm like, I don't mind if I get spoiled on this. I think I know which way this is going to go. But even watching the show, I watched majority of it later on my lunch break, and then I finished it later in the day. But just again, those matches were those last 3 matches, which they could have gotten more time. They went so fast. So it's just like, even if I didn't know the finish, like, okay, clearly this is going a while. And then once the bell rang, they went Memphis, stalling, like staring at each other, big lockup, big fight feel. And again, I have no problem with that. And again, I see, and kind of just to back up a bit ago what you said, partner, where people like, matches don't need to go this long. We live in the TikTok, YouTube generation that it needs to be 30, 40, 50 seconds. I understand people's attention spans are different now. I agree, and that's what you said before. No matches need to go this long. I agree, but I disagree. If you have the right people in there, they can go long. Again, these were the right people. Shuri and Utami 3 years ago, that 43-minute match, they were the right people. Flair and Steamboat were the right people. If you were to ask me to list my top 5 all-time favorite matches, Rob, all those matches are really long. My all-time favorite match is Shawn and Brett, WrestleMania 12, was over an hour. I was like blown away. You know, those Flair and Steamboat matches in '89, especially the one that went 55 minutes at the Clash of the Champions. That's my third favorite match of all time because of the right people to tell story. Punk versus
The four pillars went 60 minutes. A
a
lot.
lot, 40 minutes a lot. Tanahashi Okada a lot. The Omega Okada matches a lot. I have no problem with longer matches if it keeps my attention.
If
Same
it's
thing
the
with the
right
movie.
people, yeah.
Same thing with. I don't want to see a comedy 2.5. I don't want to see a comedy 2.5 hours. I will take Infinity War and Endgame 3 hours. Yes, absolutely, because it's the right story. These
Agreed.
two were the right story. And again, I have no problem. You know, the bell rings and they're just staring at each other. Like they almost don't lock up for the first minute. And then they lock up and it's a big, long lockup. It's a struggle. You know, and again, it's not only that, it's like you have the Ace of Marigold and the Ace of Marvelous in Korakuen Hall for 2 different championships. Nobody wants to make a first mistake. And this is the third time they're wrestling. They wrestled to a 20-minute draw back in the 2021 5-star Grand Prix and a 30-minute draw back a couple months later for Utami's red belt. If you want to learn all about that, go on Amazon, type in Rob Goodwin. There's a book, 2021 5-star Grand Prix that Rob has written. And I did want to do a little homework and go back and watch those 2 matches before this, but I just didn't get to it. But these 2 were the right 2 people to tell said story. And the fact that the rest of the card didn't go 3 hours, the fact the rest of the card was relatively short, and they told that story. Again, they took their time because we don't want to make the first mistake. And the selling was really good. I was about 35 minutes in this match. I'm like, I know Rob is going to love this because he loves a good psychology limb storytelling match. And Utami is a great seller. We don't really get to see how great of a seller Takumi Iroha is because she's usually just kicking ass. We don't get to see her on the back foot, but in this one, there was some really great stuff in here. And I knew it would spill to the outside because no other matches really went to the outside. So you went up to the south end of Korakuen Hall because you need to do something different. So you had, again, the beginning where they're kind of taking their time with the chain wrestling, and then they're picking apart certain parts of the body. You knew there was going to be a lot of striking, which, again, I have no problem with. Give me a lot of striking. This was like 35% of this match was really stiff striking, especially towards the end, which made sense for your double knockout. And then you go up to the top, and then they're brawling on there, and then you have some really great stuff there because now they're changing the certain psychology of the match. They're giving you something different to kind of go peaks and valleys of the match. And then they start hitting bombs. You have Utami really starts putting away on Takumi's knee, which you really don't see Utami do much. She's really not much. If she's working a limb, it's usually the neck or the back to set up for the hijack bomb or the torture rack bomb. But she's taking apart Takumi's knee, and then Takumi hits the running 3, and she can't follow up because of the knee. Then there's certain parts where she's doing this next level striking, where she hits the striking, but then can't follow up because she's putting pressure on the knee. Like she's using that knee, that bad leg that Utami's been working as her base for the striking. So she gets the striking off, but can't follow up. Then there's that one part towards, I think, like 45 minutes into the match. She hits the running 3 and Utami rolls to the outside. And I think Sonny and Stu said it perfectly. It takes longer for a 20-second count than a 3-second count. Match that ends in a count out. It's Japan. The titles can change. So really smart. Utami knowing I have to roll out here because I have more time on 20 seconds than 3 seconds. So I really like that. And then it returns fold with Utami hitting the hijack bomb, but because of her back, she can't follow up on that. I thought that was genius. And then these 2, that last 4 or 5 minutes, Rob, they're just wailing onto each other. The slaps, the strikes, the forearms, literally to the point where it's just like, and I knew it ended a double knockout, but when they teased it a couple times, so they build it. They build it towards the end. They don't tease in the beginning. They tease it towards the end. So it's just like, okay, maybe now it's going to get here. Like a big heavyweight fight like you would see in a cinematic movie, you know, like a Rocky where they're teasing that double knockout that they did in Rocky 2. So they tease it there. And I liked how they didn't give it to you in the beginning. They only gave it to you at the end because they gave you so many other different layers of psychology that built towards that. So you don't realize or suspect a double knockout until towards the end, but there's so much fight in Takumi. So much fight in Utami. Who is going to be the ace? Who's going to walk out as double champion? And eventually when they hit each other for those final slaps, I'm like, that is the perfect place to end this on the double knockout. And there's just no more fight left. I thought this was genius. I thought this was brilliant. Again, I love long matches when you have the right people in there and telling the right story. And this, for me, was the right people and the right story, probably with the exception of Sari versus Utami. My favorite match in Marigold this year, 4 3/4 stars for me, just barely missing the 5-star mark for me, Rob. If anything, if I have to do it, I'd have to get like for me like 4.9. Like it's right in between there. It's right. And again, the fact they had the crowd in the palm of their hands for most of this match, especially those last 4 or 5 minutes, that is very impressive and very hard to do. Again, considering Utami's never wrestled that long of a match before. Takumi's never wrestled that long of a match before. The Marigold and the Joshi audience, we are not conditioned to these long matches. So you're going into a different territory. You're really rolling the dice. For me, this was an absolute home run. Bravo to these two ladies is all I can say. And then when the Marigold seconds picked up Utami, and then the Marvelous seconds picked up Takumi, you could see it on their faces and the welts on their cheeks, their faces, the neck. I think it was Takumi or Utami had like a raspberry on her neck. I was like, oh, wow. That is pro wrestling at its finest, because the weapons they used were their own bodies. Brilliant job. Bravo to these ladies, and it makes you want another match between the two, which we'll eventually get somewhere down the line. But this is something they're going to wait 6-8 months, and it may not even need a championship. It may not need it. It might just be like, here we go. We're going to give it to you again. I absolutely love this. Brilliant, and it made you want more. Again, 4 3/4 stars. Mwah, chef's kiss. Thank you, Utami and Takumi.
Yeah, it was made to feel special, and it lived up to the billing, which is very difficult. And again, credit to both women, because doing what they did for damn near an hour is bloody difficult. The stamina, the mental resilience it must take to do that is very, very difficult. And they put on a very, very good match. Very, very, very good match. And like you said, Matt, to have the crowd in the palm of your hand for the length of time that they did was a credit to both women. Another fantastic Korakuen Hall show under the belt for Marigold, who again, just every Korakuen Hall is appointment viewing. Moving on then, just very, very quickly from this phenomenal match, we're just going to talk about the matches that are coming up over this weekend. So I believe Monday the 21st is a national holiday in Japan. Obviously, that is the day of Stardom's pay-per-view, which would make sense. But Marigold are running 3 shows over the weekend on the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st as well. So we are going to look at the just to get these up. There we go. At the lineup for these shows. So we start on the 19th of July, where we have now Ishikawa versus Hummingbird. We have got a 3-way Misa Matsui versus Megaton versus Koki Amare. Tag team match Utami Hayashishita and Yuki Yamazaki versus Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. 6-woman tag. Victoria Yuzuki, Mirai, and Komomo Minami versus Mai Sakurai, Seri Yamaoka, and Shino will be back on this card as well. And then in what is currently slated to be your main event, Mayu Iwatani, Miko Ano, Kazuna Tanaka versus the Dance Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Ria Sato, and Chiaki as well. I don't know if I said that. That is in Okayama, the Okayama Convention Center. We then go to the 20th of July, where we will be coming at you from Osaka 176 box. We open with a 3-way match, Megaton versus Chiaki versus Naoya Ishikawa. It's Osaka, and that means one thing, Matt, and that is the return of the Flying Penguin, and Koki Amare versus Komomo Minami and Hummingbird. It's the Battle of the Birds. 6-woman tag match. You have got Mai Sakurai, Kazuna Tanaka, and Arina Yamanaka versus the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui, Nagisa Nozaki, and Ria Sato. Tag team match, which again, this looks really tasty. Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Yuki Yamazaki. And then again, in your main event, Mayu Iwatani, Sari Yamaoka, and Shino versus Miko Ano, Chika Goto, and Minami Yuki. And then on the 21st of July, Monday, we are in Aichi in the Korea City Industrial Promotion Center, and the card for that show is as follows. Naoya Ishikawa versus Komomo Minami, Megaton and Hummingbird versus Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka, Mai Sakurai versus Ria Sato in a singles match. Three-way match, Chikugoto versus Chiaki versus Koki Amare. In a tag team match, Mika Wano and Minami Yuki versus the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki. And then in your main event, a super team of Utami Hayashishita, Mayu Iwatani, and Mirai versus Seriyamoka, Shino, and Yuka Yamazaki. Hashtag pray for Yuka.
Poor rookies.
Yeah.
Hashtag poor rookies. Oh my goodness.
They are getting absolutely basted, especially Yuka, who I think might be taking the pinfall. And again, I just want to shout out whoever's doing the graphics, because the graphics are absolutely outstanding at the moment for these Marigold shows. Matt, with that, there is one thing and one thing only left to do, and that, my friend, is to gaze at Julia.
Gaze at Julia. Gaze at Julia. Not really too much going on for the Beautiful Madness this week. She did participate in the Evolution Battle Royal, where they did tease her and Stephanie Vacker, who may be playing back off their feud, maybe bringing that up to the main roster. Ultimately, though, what the Battle Royal was about, at least for Julia, is really putting the stamp on her feud with Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega eventually eliminates Julia. Julia kind of helps Zelina Vega get eliminated, and they brawl up the aisleway. So we know we're going to get a rematch somewhere soon. We'll find out as recording this is Friday. We may find out tonight on Friday Night SmackDown where we're going with Julia and Zelina Vega. We're going to have a return match for that U.S. title. Maybe tonight on SmackDown, maybe they go all the way to SummerSlam, because SummerSlam is shaping up to be really, really interesting. So maybe they go there. So again, Julia, great reaction, really great participation in the Battle Royal, but my guess is they're going to be ramping up to a program with Julia and Zelina Vega, which I am all for, my friend.
Absolutely, as am I. And if you haven't seen Evolution, definitely check it out, because the Io versus Rhea match is fantastic. Definitely worth checking it out.
4 3/4 stars from Big Dave. Almost missing the perfect 5 star. He did give Bandito versus Takeshita 5 3/4 stars. So full star better than Io and Rhea. So take that for what it's worth.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of the Marigold Stand. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week to talk about those 3 shows and begin our previews for the Dream Star Grand Prix. In the meantime, if you could subscribe to the podcast, that would massively help us out. We are literally everywhere. Leave us a comment and a 5-star review if you think that we have earned it. It helps us be exposed to even more people in the wide world of Joshi. You can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, where you can hear a little bit more of myself and Matt on for as little as $1 a month as well. But there are tiers for all sorts and a whole host of bonus content. Don't forget that all of the news and show reports and previews will now be uploaded for free to Patreon. So Talk Joshi will not be updated. It's all going on to Patreon. So it's all in one place for everyone to see. You can find us on social media at the Marigold Podcast, or alternatively on Talk Joshi at both Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Mr. Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, I will be a guest on a brand new podcast this week called Didn't Get All of It Japan. So I'll be a guest on that podcast this week. I'm not sure when it's coming out. I think the early part of next week. And guess what I'm going to be talking about, Rob?
Megaton?
I'm going to be talking about how to bake an apple pie. See how I brought that all around? No,
yeah.
I'm going to be talking about, obviously, the Dream Star and the 5-star Grand Prix. So, again, it's a new podcast that I'll be a guest on this week. So just keep your eyes out on the social medias on where to find that. You might be saying, Matt, what are your social medias? I will tell you right now, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and bestest way to get a hold of me. And since I have Rob Goodwin here, he's going to help me tell you where to find me on the email, because the email address simply is, folks, the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because when all together, everybody's different, everybody's special.